All right, today we're going to go over some tips and tricks to do your face chart. So these are just some of my favorite tips or tricks. So hopefully you can take something from it and add it to what you already know about face charts and help you create something beautiful. So stay tuned if you want to learn a little bit more. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. One of the first things that I love to do is I like to go ahead and start out with a translucent powder. And I like to use this to sort of fill in any holes or texture on the paper. This just makes the paper really, really smooth. So that way when I start the makeup, it goes on really nicely. Next, we're gonna add some definition to the face. So I am using a skin tone foundation type color eyeshadow to create some definition to my paper. So the whole point here is to create a 2D, or to make our 2D piece of paper look more 3D. So I'm using this around the complete perimeter of the face and using any translucent powder to help me blend out. Now we're gonna go in with a little bit of a deeper color. So now we're gonna start our contouring. So we're using a deeper color just to add more definition to the face. If we get a little heavy-handed, we're just using our lighter color to blend it out. And we're following the shape of the face chart right where the cheekbone is to give us our contour look. I also like adding some color to the temple area and then also to the nose area. Again, we're trying to make this piece of paper look more 3D. So by adding a little bit of highlight, or a little contour really, to the nose and to the temple, we're gonna start seeing a little bit more definition in our face. All right, let's move to eyebrows. So for eyebrows, I use a pencil first. Now with this pencil, I'm just drawing in hair-like strokes. This way, when I put the powder on top of it, it actually looks like individual hairs. You can make whatever shape you want. I like a little bit of a thicker brow, so I usually go in a little bit more heavy-handed with my brows. And then I use a angled brush to draw my hair. I always have a little wet piece of paper towel laying around. This way I can make my brush really, really thin and I can create that hair-like texture. So I'm just going in with different shades of brown to create my hair-like texture. Right there you can see that I had a little boo-boo. I had some color on my hand and it got on the face chart. So you'll see me using an eraser in a second to kind of fix that. So we're just going in and I'm alternating between the brush and the pencil to create my hair-like texture. Keeping a pencil around is really great. If you're having issues with that, you could also use a brown colored pencil to help you create some hair texture. That would work as well. The fun thing to remember is eyeshadow is erasable, so you can use that eraser anytime you get a little heavy-handed. So I keep that eraser close by. So depending on the type of brows you want is what you can do. So if you wanted a really sculpted brow, you could really focus with a thinner brush and create a really defined brow. If you wanted a really thin brow, you could do even less product on the face chart. It really is up to you. You'll see in a second, I take a flat brush and this way I'm able to really draw some hair right up. I like them to be really thick and bushy, so you'll see that a trend with any face charts that I do. All right, so let's move back on to eyes. So for eyes, we're going to change the type of brush we're using. Typically when we do eyeshadow on a person, we're using fluffier brushes, but with this, we're using more dense, firmer brushes. The reason being is because we're working on paper. So with this, I'm gonna do the same thing I would do on a person and do windshield wiper motions in my crease to kind of start creating my color palette. The only difference with face charts are the type of brushes we are using. So we are going in and we are creating kind of our transition color in our crease area. All right, so I am going in with a neutral color, so we're just gonna do a bunch of different shades of brown. But I'm gonna go in and start creating depth by using a darker shade. So if you think of the first color as like your transition, now I'm going in with a deeper crease color. So I'm just building that depth by layering different colors on top. Just like you would do on a real person. Again, with a face chart, we're just using different brushes than we normally would. So I'm using the bigger brush just to kind of blend out, but all together, these are all pretty small brushes. I'm gonna mimic the same thing at the bottom of the eye. The important thing to remember is you want to do all your powders first. So start with all of your powders before you do any kind of creamy product like an eye pencil or anything like that. All right, so it looks like we missed the part where I was coloring the eye, but basically I just used some color pencils and colored her eye color. And now I'm going in with a marker just to deepen the blacks of her eye where it kind of got, you know, eyeshadow on top of it, just to kind of make it stand out some more. And then I'm using a white gel pen to bring out the whites of the eye to make that pop a little bit more. All right, so my favorite part is eyeliner. So I'm actually using the ESUM eyeliner in brown, and I'm going pretty heavy-handed here on the eye. And I put the pencil on, and then I'm taking a very thin, fine brush, and I'm just blending it out with a dark brown eyeshadow. So I wanna make sure that all my eyeshadow on my lid is done before I start putting that cream of the pencil on. Otherwise, I won't be able to erase any mistakes. So that's one thing to remember when doing the pencils and the creams, is you always want to make sure you do that after you complete the eyeshadow. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. All right, so after we do the eyeliner and we kind of get what we want with the eye pencil and the eyeshadow, we go in and do lashes. Now, lashes can be a little tricky, and you're gonna actually see me practice first. So I use this fine tip paintbrush, and I'm really kind of creating little check marks on the lashes. I ended up not liking this one at all, but I like to use an extra piece of paper for practice. You're kind of, again, doing flat check marks. So practice first before you do it on your face chart, because once this goes on, you're kind of stuck with it. Now, I personally really like this paint felt tip pen brush, because with a liquid liner, it takes a really long time for it to dry and it smears. With this kind of pen, it doesn't smear, it sort of stays exactly where you put it. So I really like this felt tip brush, and it's called Faber-Castelo. I ordered it off Amazon. So I specifically bought this for my face charts. All right, so once you get the lashes exactly how you want them, you're good with the eyes, and we're gonna move to lips. So for lips, I use a lip pencil, and I'm using the color Plum. I use a lipstick and a very fine brush. So I first like to outline the lips with my lip liner, and then I take my brush to smooth out my lip liner. So by doing this, I'm able to really define the lips and get the color where I want. Now, you're not going to see a harsh lip line in a minute, because we're going to use the creaminess of the lipstick to blend it in. So I'm just going to blend this out with that very, very, very thin, tight, firm lip pencil brush, or lip brush, I should say. So now I'm going to take a lipstick, and I'm putting it on my palette, so that way I can just use it off of the palette, and I'm going to kind of draw in the lips. I always leave a few circles on the lips because I want the lips to look really full. So by not filling in those little circles, I can create some dimension to the lips. So I'm blending in the lipstick with the lip liner, adding lip liner where I want more depth, all that fun stuff. Now I'm going to use the remainder product on the brush. Well, I'm going to in a minute. Now I'm going to use the remainder product on the brush to fill in those little white areas we left. So what this does is from afar, it makes it look like gloss in a sense. It gives it that dimension. I like a lot of dimension and I want the lips to look really 3D. So I'm taking a little bit of a Plum eyeshadow just to kind of detail, to add a little bit more depth to those lips. And then I take my white gel pen and I just color in a little bit of that white area. Again, it kind of looks like gloss in 3D from a distance. I'm gonna pop on some blush, and then I tried to make this a beauty mark, but it was a total fail. So I'm actually going to show you how we can disguise it for our after picture. So it's okay if it's not perfect, versus me having to start all over. I like to sort of style my pictures before I post them with the products I'm using. So you see I'm using the eyeshadow palette that I used. I'm gonna lay that brush on top of the palette. From this angle, you can still see the dot, but in the after picture, you don't see it at all. So I'm just kind of styling my picture so that way it looks like that at the very end. So this is sort of our little tutorial to show you some tips and tricks for face charting. I hope you guys like it, and I hope you guys enter the Muse Beauty Face Chart contest. Thanks, guys.